Hello! So today we're going to talk about the past simple, otherwise known as the simple past. It's the same. So when do we use the past simple? We can use it to talk about completed actions in the past, past habits, so actions that occurred regularly in the past but no longer. And we also can use it to talk about states in the past, so situations or conditions that were true in the past but not anymore. So you guessed it, it's all about the past. So the structure for the past simple is super easy. We don't have any auxiliary verbs. We just take the main verb and add ed. So the verb to work becomes worked. The verb start becomes started. And ed is added to the end to make it the past simple. But of course, English is not that easy because there are many irregular verbs to learn as well. So there are no rules for irregular verbs. You just need to memorize them and learn them. And unfortunately, a lot of the most common verbs, to go, to be, to do, to see, to have, these verbs are irregular, so we need to remember the past tense for them off by heart. You will probably remember learning irregular verbs in school. You'll probably remember reciting take, took, taken, eat, ate, eaten. This is the irregular verbs. So number 2, so eat, ate, eaten, take, took, taken. Number 2, this is your past simple. So if you want to use a verb in the past tense, past simple, take that second irregular verb that you remembered, and use it in a sentence. So for example, the verb to see, I saw you yesterday, past simple. Another good thing about the past simple tense is that every subject is the same. So let's take the verb to see again. I saw, you saw, he saw, she saw, it saw, we saw, they saw. It's the same word for every subject. So that's good news. However, we have one super irregular verb that does not follow that rule, and that is the verb to be. So the verb to be actually changes the conjugation in the past tense. So in the past, I say I was, but you were. He, she, it was, but we were, they were. So you have to decide if it's was or were, depending on the subject. But it's the only exception, so that's good news. So what about making negative sentences? Negative sentences usually need an auxiliary verb, but of course with the past simple we don't have an auxiliary verb, so we need to give an auxiliary verb. So we use the auxiliary verb did for the past simple. So let's take a positive sentence. For example, I walked to work yesterday. And then negation, I did not walk to work yesterday. She did not. They did not. We did not. It's the same for every subject, but we need to remember it's did plus not and then the infinitive. So we don't add ed if we're changing the verb to a negative sentence because we've already conjugated the auxiliary verb to do. So we can take another Example, let's take an irregular verb. I saw you yesterday. Negative, I did not see you yesterday. So quite easy to make negative sentences in English. And lastly, let's talk about question forms. So when we're asking a question, we need to swap the auxiliary verb and the subject. So for example, I walked to work yesterday is a statement. And a question, did I walk to work yesterday? So we take the auxiliary did, similar to the negative sentence, did, and the subject, did I, did you, did he, did she, and then the infinitive form of the verb, walk. So again, we can use it with different verbs. Let's take the verb to see. Did I see you yesterday at the supermarket? For example. So now you know how to create sentences in the past simple with regular verbs by adding ed, irregular verbs by remembering this number 2 on the irregular verb list, negative sentences by adding did not, and creating questions by swapping the auxiliary and the subject. I hope this has helped you to prepare and practice for using past tenses and past simple in English. Keep practicing and it will get easier and easier. Have a good day.